and it was about this time of year. It was really hot outside, and we didn't know how to elevate the public's attention to the matter. In the US, vacation season, nobody's around, the news media is talking about other things that aren't really important, and yet there was a famine, a silent disaster going on, and kids were starving to death. And no one was talking about it. It wasn't in the news media, and therefore donors weren't donating. So we convened a town hall style meeting, much like this meeting, and it was everybody's responsibility, equal playing field. What are your ideas? How can we generate awareness? How can we generate revenue? How can we solve this problem? And no ideas about it. So, I thought to myself,
no ideas about it yet?
Yeah. And, so that's myself, well, what can I possibly do about it? So I remember I was working long one day, and we have a lunchroom at Save the Children, and so I went down to the lunchroom to get some lunch, and I just missed it. So couldn't get any lunch, so I went to the snack machine, and had 9 cents in my pocket, and the machine didn't work, so I couldn't get anything to eat. So I let me go to the coffee machine. The coffee machine was just empty. So I was like, I couldn't even, let's get some water. An abundance of free water, and yet kids were starving and going thirsty in Africa. And here I am in a climate-controlled building, in Fairfield County, Connecticut, in the U.S., and my colleagues were in D.C., and here we are in this insulated, climate-controlled environment, and I'm a little grumpy because I missed lunch, and the snack machine was broken, but I can get all the free water I wanted abundantly. So in that moment, I realized that's it. The American public doesn't understand the problem. So we need to have empathy for the children who are starving and who can't drink clean water. So I said, how can we do that? I said, well, I just missed lunch involuntarily just because I missed the deadline, or I didn't have enough change for the candy machine, or it was broken. But what I could do is I could myself choose to voluntarily fast. So I go to my colleagues, I said, I got an idea. That's the problem, that we can't experience hunger pain unless you actually sort of miss a meal. And a lot of you guys go through teaching a lot of lessons in a row, and you might actually start experiencing a little hunger pain later in the afternoon. Imagine if you were a child, and imagine if that was involuntary, that you couldn't do anything about it. So I realized I'm going to voluntarily fast for 24 hours. I'm not going to eat, I'm not going to drink for 24 hours, so I can experience what it would be like to be a child in East Africa doing that. So I went to my colleagues, I go, I'm going to fast for a day. What do you think about that? And people said, yeah, that's a great idea. I'll join you. I'll do a fast too, volunteer. Okay, great. So as I just was talking it up, this idea, people started to sort of join in. He said, yeah, I'll join you in that. And so we gathered a bunch of people, probably about 100 people, voluntarily willing on one particular day in August to not eat or not drink, and you have to consult your doctor, right, first. So our lawyers found out about it. And so they said, Ed, this fast-a-thon you got going on here, it's great and all, but we got to manage risk. We don't want to have the employees feel like they're being coerced into volunteerism, meaning to skip a meal just because they want to support it. So you need to open it up to the public. It can't be employees only. I said, fine, we'll just put up a Facebook event. Put up a Facebook event, sent out an email, and 408 people joined this fast-a-thon in solidarity and to experience empathy of those children who were fasting involuntarily. And we were fasting voluntarily to make a point. So we called it, we had a nutritionist on staff. He told us about what happens to the body when you fast and when you slowly starve. And it was really inspirational and educational. And instead of eating, During each of the 3 meal times of the day, we'd get on social media, we'd talk about how we were feeling, we'd say why we were fasting, we'd encourage people to voluntarily donate. And from that one idea, from one person, it turned into a small movement. And we had 500 people, staff and general public alike, joining this fasting marathon, this fast-a-thon. Well, we set a symbolic goal of $10,000 for that one day. Because $10,000 could help feed 100 children for 100 days until the rains came back. So it was a significant and symbolic goal, $10,000. But an interesting thing started to happen. People noticed. So, for example, the actor Kevin McKidd from Grey's Anatomy noticed. He joined our fast-a-thon. He tweeted a picture of him with a glass of water saying, "This is my lunch for today. I'm not eating, fasting voluntarily." Right? And then Iman, the supermodel, who herself is from East Africa, she went on CNN, Anderson Cooper, and she said, "I'm not eating today. I'm part of the fast. This is why." So from that one idea, we had national media now paying attention to this famine in East Africa. We had celebrities volunteering their time and their attention to this crisis, intractable crisis, many said, that no one was paying attention to, and this problem. And on that first day, we tripled our fundraising goal. We raised $30,000 in one day. But what was interesting was it didn't stop on one day. People kept voluntarily joining and saying, "I couldn't fast on that day, but I can fast on another day." And it kept going. And in 1 month, instead of the $10,000, we raised $500,000 in about a month from people fasting even after that one day. And then, finally, institutions started to notice. So Warner Brothers noticed. And they selected 3 nonprofits, including Save the Children, and said, "You know what? We're going to give you guys $2 million and an extra $1 million matching contributions of anyone who will continue to donate." And we solved the problem. The rains came back. We saved children's lives from one idea. And I say that not to impress you, but to impress upon you that even one idea from one person can make a difference, can change lives. And how you might say that this is totally irrelevant to your profession of teaching tennis on a court, and I don't think so. And here's why. First of all, oftentimes you're not eating or drinking, so please properly hydrate. But at the end of a lesson, right? So my fall teaching hours, I teach on Sunday and I teach all day. I'll basically teach 10 to 12 hours every Sunday, roughly. At the end of a long day that many of you have on the court, there might be a tendency to lose focus of the student in front of you, or be distracted by other thoughts, can't wait to get home, thinking about your kids or your wife or your family, whatever it is. And that's natural, right? That's being human. But in those moments, I would say, have some empathy for the student on the other side of the net. Whether the student is a child or an adult, and think about that student. So the way I employ empathy in my teaching here is when I have a boy on the other side, I have a girl who's now 10 and a boy who's 12, I pretend for a moment that that's my child. How would I like that child to learn the sport of tennis? And then I say, immediately, I get laser focused on this really matters. Everything I do, everything I say, I'm a role model. I want to inspire the kids, make sure they're learning, but make sure they enjoy the process. Or if it's an adult, I said, what if that adult was me? What if I was teaching my wife instead of another student? How would I teach the lesson any differently? And so I'd say to you, if you can strategically use empathy in your day-to-day teaching, you can become a much better teacher than you are already. And just by employing that one technique. And I did it at Save the Children. I visualize it here when I'm teaching other students at the end of a 12-hour day, hour 12. It's difficult to get through that hour. Maybe I'm a little hungry, maybe I'm thirsty, maybe I'm being distracted by some thoughts. And I'd say in those moments then, that's when I shift my focus, using empathy, think about my own children, perhaps my own wife, and then finish the lesson. So with that, that's the one idea that I'd like to share with you for today, is that you can use empathy in teaching tennis and be an even better teacher than you are. So thank you for your time.
Tori for President.